What's up, everybody? Charlie Marlow here, doing another video on the St. Louis Cardinals. Want to talk about the skipper, Oli Marmol, with the fact that the National League Manager of the Year voting came out last night. So the award given, of course, to Buck Showalter of the New York Mets. Oli Marmol finishes fourth in the voting. So I wanted to break down the voting, give you my opinion on who won, who should have won. And I want to hear from you guys also, obviously. And then we can roll that into basically how we think Oli Marmol did in his first year as manager of the St. Louis Cardinals. So let's first just go down because, hey, more notes. Maybe we're going to have notes every day. Who knows? I didn't do that much research. So Buck Showalter wins, manager of the Mets. All right? First year manager of the New York Mets. Wins 101 games. The Mets in 2021 only won 77 games. So we're talking about a 24-game improvement. All right. Finishing second National League Manager of the Year, Dave Roberts from the Los Angeles Dodgers. Dodgers win 111 games. And remember, all this Manager of the Year, we're talking about regular season. So whatever happened in the postseason, now we'll talk about that, but it doesn't impact the voting for Manager of the Year. So Dave Roberts and the Dodgers, they win 111 games this year. They won 106 last year, so 5-win improvement. Brian Snitker, Atlanta Braves, they win 101 games this year. Last year, of course, World Series champs. Remember, they get hot second half. They were around 500. They rebuild their outfield last year with the likes of Jorge Soler, Eddie Rosario, Adam Duvall, Jock Peterson, and they go from an 88-win team to win the World Series in 2021. So Brian Snitker wins 101 games this year, 13-win increase, but also let's remember, it wasn't like it was this Little Sisters of the Poor last year. They won the freaking World Series. Oli Marmol, first year as Cardinals manager, wins 93 games. Last year, in Mike Shilt's final year, where Oli Marmol is, of course, the bench coach, Cardinals win 90 games. They were kind of like the Braves in the regular season in the sense, around 500. Trade deadline, they pick up John Lester, Jay Happ. They get super hot during that 17-game win streak. They finish with a very respectable 90 wins. So Oli Marmol, year one, an increase of 3 wins. I'm not going to read you every single person that got votes, but I do think it's important to note the 5th place finisher this year, Rob Thompson of the Philadelphia Phillies. Remember, he takes over as the interim manager midway through the season for Joe Girardi and leads them to 87 wins and a playoff berth, this coming off 82 wins last year for the Phillies. So that's your 1 through 5. Now, for me, just kind of looking at this, I mean, I didn't really dive into a ton of research on this, but I think the Manager of the Year, oftentimes it's about expectations, outperforming expectations, and how you did last year and the improvement year to year, especially if you're either a first-time manager or you're a manager taking over this team. So that's why I can't argue against Buck Showalter. I think I would have voted for Buck Showalter first place as well. Even though the Mets, remember, they started out hot, they lose the division to the Braves late, but still, you're talking about a 24-win improvement for Buck Showalter and the Mets, a team that goes from 77 wins to 101. I also probably would have voted for Buck Showalter first for this award. Now, Dave Roberts, he's probably become a guy that we almost take for granted because the Dodgers are so good every year in the regular season, and let's give them credit for that. But you have a lot of postseason failures. Okay, 5-win improvement, 106 wins to 111 wins, elite team, elite organization. To me, Dave Roberts doesn't need to be second. I think he's really good at his job, but the Dodgers are always great. Brian Snitker, I think you have to give him credit for the increase of 13 wins and the fact that they chased down the Mets late for the division, but also we're talking about the team that won the World Series last year, the defending World Series champs. So the fact that they came back and won 101 games Okay, great job. Good job as manager. I don't think you need to be ahead of even Oli Marmol. I think, so let's look at Oli. Oli takes over that Mike Schilt team. The Cardinals, another organization that's always good. I'm not going to put them in the Dodgers level recently because the Dodgers are more of the 100-win plus team every year. The Cardinals are more of the 90-plus win team every year. And I hate to say it, but for them, the manager doesn't matter as much. If you go from La Russa to even early Matheny, they were winning a ton of games in the regular season. Of course, they fell off a bit with Matheny at the end. Mike Schilt picks it up. They're a perennial contender, not winning playoff games, but always around that 88, 90, 92, 93 wins. And then Marmol takes over and has a nice jump in wins from 90 to 93. So Marmol, I think I would have put Marmol ahead of Snitker and Dave Roberts, but I think I would have put Rob Thompson ahead of Oli Marmol. And the only reason I say that is, so Rob Thompson takes over midseason, a Phillies team that won 82 games last year. You have a 5-win increase this year, but just the fact that you took over midseason, so things were bad enough early on that the manager had to be fired, and you righted the ship, even though they were also shaky at the end, but you righted the ship enough to get to 87 wins and a playoff berth as an interim manager. So I think my vote would have been Buck Showalter 1. I think I go Rob Thompson 2, and I go Oli Marmol 3, and Dave Roberts or Brian Snitker 4 or 5. I don't really care there. To me, they've been around long enough. They're with really good organizations. I get it, Oli is too, but this was his first year. So let's break down now Oli Marmol and evaluate a little bit his first year as Cardinals manager. And please, drop me your comments. If you like this video so far, throw me a like. If you haven't subscribed yet, please give us a subscribe. And really, we appreciate the comments always on these videos. So to me, if you're evaluating the whole year for Oli Marmol, if you want to work backwards, I do think that game 1 against the Phillies in the playoffs sped up on him in the 9th inning with Ryan Helsley. We had him on a radio show, and he discussed his thought process in pulling Jose Quintana early. And I just think, could you have went another 10 pitches, 2 outs with Jose Quintana? I think that's a fair question to bring up in game 1 versus the Phillies. My issue, though, was more so with Ryan Helsley multiple innings is something that I think the Cardinals had a lot of success with in the regular season. And if Ryan Helsley would not have basically walked off the mound in Pittsburgh his last time out in the regular season with that jammed finger, nobody would have blinked at Ryan Helsley throwing multiple innings in his first playoff game. But I do think it's fair to say that that was a difficult ask for Ryan Helsley, his first time back in a competitive environment, in an ultra-competitive, basically no room for error environment in the playoffs, to ask him to go multiple innings. He doesn't have to just go out there and throw a couple pitches. He has to go out there, get outs, sit down for 5, 10, 15 minutes, go back out again. And I just think there was a lot of unknown there with how his finger would adapt to that. Not just the first time out, but sitting down and going back out and pitching again. And that's where I think as Helsley started to struggle in that 9th inning, I don't believe Oli was quick enough to get somebody up there to replace Ryan Helsley. And then at that point, when somebody was coming in, it was too late. And you had seen enough there that Ryan Helsley did not have it. He was missing arm side. Almost beating a couple dudes before he actually did. So I do think that 9th inning sped up on Oli Marmol. Game 2 versus the Phillies, to me, was more, you just got shoved. You got shoved by Aaron Nola. The Cardinals had their opportunities offensively. You just got beat. You just got beat by a better pitcher, better team. Bryce Harper goes yard, and the Phillies had just enough offense. So now that we're rewinding then, there's only 2 playoff games, obviously. But regular season, I think where Oli Marmol did a great job, was keeping his bullpen arms rested. If you remember, if you're a Cardinals fan, you know this going back really to the Matheny years, but you can include Schilt, especially last year, with Alex Reyes, with Giovanni Gallegos, with Genesis Cabrera. It's been a storyline for going on 12 years, 10 years, since 2012 with Matheny, essentially, about burning up and wearing down these bullpen arms. You can go back to Kevin Segrist. You can go back to Seth Maness. As I mentioned, last year with Reyes, Giovanni Gallegos, Genesis Cabrera, it seemed like for the Cardinals to win a baseball game in 2021, they had to have that lead at the 6th inning, and then you're handing the ball off to the law firm of Cabrera, Gallegos, and Alex Reyes. But the problem was you had to do that so often, especially in the first half, that all those dudes were gassed in the second half of the season. And that's where I think you need to give Oli Marmol a ton of credit for 2022. That was not a storyline. We did not bring that up at all this season. It was actually on the contrary. Some folks were complaining that they didn't use Ryan Helsley enough. And you understand, though, why? Because it's all about the playoffs. It's all about the postseason. Ryan Helsley, sitting him here and there to keep him fresh. And again, what happened in the playoffs to me with Ryan Helsley was more about his finger and being injured than anything to do with him being worn down. So I think one of the ways a manager can have a ton of influence on his roster is managing his bullpen and keeping the bullpen fresh. And I think Oli Marmol did a fantastic job with that in the regular season. He also had to balance and manage a lot of big-time egos. It's not easy for a dude who's, by the way, he's younger than I am. He's certainly younger than Albert Pujols, Adam Wainwright, and Yadier Molina, and have to balance all of the nostalgia of telling somebody like Albert Pujols that you have to sit on the bench, or using him as a pinch hitter, which early on, those are difficult conversations for a young first-year manager to an iconic Hall of Fame player. Now, obviously, second half, you got to play Albert essentially every game because he was the best hitter in the league for a while for the second half there. But I do think Oli did a very good job of managing the egos the best he could. Now, if you want to bring up, which I have many times, the whole situation with Yadier Molina this year, it was just weird. We don't know what happened, where he reports late to spring training, clearly was not in the best shape, doesn't hit early on, has the injury, he's back training in Puerto Rico, he leaves the team for his basketball team for a while. That's pretty much an impossible situation for Oli Marmol. It's one of those just no-win situations. I do think that was a bad look for Yadi. You also have a Hall of Fame legacy player, and whatever was going on with Yadi off the field, I thought Oli handled it as best he could. I mean, from an organizational standpoint, I don't think anybody knew what was going on there or why Yadi wasn't there. So I'm not going to put that on Oli Marmol because he's in a really, really difficult spot. I'm sure the players were thinking the same thing that Oli was thinking, that John Mozeliak was thinking, like, Yadi, what's going on here? So I think he handled that as best he could. If he comes out in the media and just destroys and lights up Yadier Molina, I don't think that helps his situation. I don't think that helps Yadi's situation. I don't think that helps the Cardinals' situation. That was just an impossible spot for Oli Marmol to be in. So I think Oli Marmol is going to be a really good manager for the Cardinals moving forward. I think he was darn good in the regular season. I do think Game 1 sped up on him a little bit. And one more thing I'll say about Game 1 is, this is just my opinion, and it's from talking to Oli also on the radio after the fact. I think sometimes big league managers, they script the game too much in their heads before the game of how they want the game to play out. And then in a way, they're kind of married to that so that they're not reacting as much to what they see. I'm sure in the perfect world, when you scripted how you were going to win Game 1 versus the Phillies, it's get a lead early, get Jose Quintana out of there before he faces the batting order for the third time, especially those righties after Kyle Schwarber, and then basically get to the point where you can hand the ball off to your best reliever, Ryan Helsley, for multiple innings. I'm sure that was the blueprint going in. That's kind of how they won games all season long. The calculus changes to me with Ryan Helsley's injury, but I think you also have to watch how Quintana is pitching. And I think pulling him early is one of the reasons you then had to go to Ryan Helsley for multiple innings late. I think allowing Jose Quintana to throw 10 more pitches. Remember, he only threw 75 pitches, I believe. His average start for the Cardinals, if you don't include that last start versus the Pirates, which was just kind of a 3-inning little deal getting ready for the playoffs, but was around 86, 87 pitches. So 75 pitches was even low for Jose Quintana. I understand you don't want to throw him out there for 100 pitches, but to ask him to throw 10, 11 more pitches to get to his normal 86, 87 pitches, potentially get you 2 more outs. And I understand, too, that maybe you're not going to pitch him after Bryce Harper in that lineup. Okay, you don't love the matchup with Rhys Hoskins and JT Realmuto, but still, Jose Quintana was cruising there. So I do think the blueprint of the game and how the Cardinals and Oli wanted to win that game, I think as you're watching, you can also adapt off that and react to what's going on, which was Jose Quintana pitching really, really well and being at a very low pitch count of 75 pitches. All right, I've already gone way longer than I expected. I just keep talking, man. And then I look, I'm like, 15, 16 minutes. Hopefully it was interesting. Again, drop your comments. I really appreciate you guys watching these videos. We're going to try to do hot stove videos all throughout the offseason. I think it's going to be a really interesting offseason for the Cardinals with some trades, with maybe a couple of free agent signings. Thank you for watching. Once again, please comment, like, and if you haven't subscribed yet, throw us that subscribe. It helps out the creators here on YouTube, helps with that algorithm that we're all trying to figure out. All right. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you.